special plan today, guys?
No, just the normal. We'll try to get out to the church house and then take it easy. It'll be a relaxing day.
Yeah, family.
Yeah, hang around. Try to do some stuff that's important.
Yeah.
All right. Perfect. So we are live on YouTube. It's Sunday, April 17th. So the boys are back. We got Al Myers, back with us today. It's gonna bring some good stuff, gonna have some good conversations. So thanks for being here, whoever's watching. Don't hesitate to comment, be with us, and let's go for it. Let's go for it for some Sunday morning wisdom. So what are we talking about today? I know, Al, you said you had something brewing, so I'll kind of let you take the stage.
All right, thanks, guys. And I know last time we talked about if we remember, we was talking about a backdraft. I think that's the last time I was on. Been a few weeks. We talked about a backdraft and how it occurs, but there's another fire-related event. So as I look back over my fire days, there's a thing called a flashover. Usually the flashover doesn't get as much attention as backdrafts. Backdrafts and that explosion, everybody's all, but a flashover's much, much more dangerous. It's just funny that it don't get the same timber. So the difference between, the backdraft sucks the oxygen and comes toward the oxygen in the room we talked about last time, but naturally occurring thing. The flashover is when the temperature in the room is so hot that every exposed surface to the heat in a compartment or space rapidly and simultaneously ignites at the same time. So if you can imagine you in a room and the chair has been on fire and burning before you get there, and you're sitting there and you're working on the chair, the temperature gets so hot in the room that every other item in the room all of a sudden catches fire at the same time. So imagine you in a bedroom, the dresser's burning, and then at one point, the bed, the other dresser, the lamps, the curtains, the carpet, the ceiling, every single thing in that room ignites. And if you're in there, you're stuck. That's obviously more dangerous because it occurs while you're standing in the room. So you could be near the door or you may be well into the room. But if that room ignites, every single thing in the room catches fire at one time. But in a fire, obviously, is bad. When we think about our career, that ain't necessarily the worst thing that can happen. It's sort of like the backdraft. I was thinking about, I was like, wow, that's kind of cool. I mean, obviously, when we think flashover, we think this could kill you. But when I start looking at what determines the likelihood of a flashover, and then I start looking at the signs of when a flashover is going to occur, I was like, this is exactly what it kind of takes and the things we should think about when we're building a business. So when they talked about what it takes for a flashover to occur, the first thing it said is the location of the fire. That sounds like a business. What they tell you, location, 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 right? The second thing was the size, volume, and shape of the compartment in which the fire is burning, right? So again, back to business. The size of your business, the volume of the work you're doing, where did you put, what are you doing? And then it said the fire growth rate. How fast is your business growing? How fast? And then it said, it also decides, one of the things is what other content and their exposed surfaces are in the compartment. You're like, what else is around you? And then the last one was ventilation, how much air is around, right? So if you think about things that could help you cause a flashover, your business would be where you put it, how big of a business is it, the volume of work you're doing, how fast your business is growing, what you have that you're growing it with, and then the amount of air or resources available to the business, right? Now, once you have those things, there's a likelihood you're going to have a flashover, right? There's the likelihood of flash. But then you go, how do I know when it's going to happen? It says one of them is the temperature quickly doubles or triples in temperature. So you think you in a room or you in your business and it quickly doubles or triples in size. It quickly doubles or triples in business. You're like, woo. And then it says large volumes of heavy dark smoke, which basically is large volumes of the sign that there is a fire going on or something is burning. So your business, large sign that you are doing business, whether that's a lot of influx to your social media, a lot of new clients coming in, a lot of new phone calls, whatever your methodology, that there's a large sign. People are very keenly aware that something's going on at your business, right? And then they call what we call a rollover. A rollover is when the heat at the ceiling doesn't catch on fire, flame just rolls across it. So if you looked up, it looked like fire is just rolling over your head. And you're like, that's weird. So you know it's coming because it's so hot up there. It doesn't stay on fire. It just rolls through the smoke. So you looking up at the ceiling and fire is rolling across. They call it a rollover. So you're like, man. So you know it's hot up there. Usually, which is you're down in a very crouched on your knee type position, because above you, the higher you get to the ceiling, it's so hot that up there the gases are just rolling on fire. So think about the heat. So your business at the top of what it is you do, it ain't completely caught on fire yet, but it's you doing so well that the signs of a fire coming is just rolling across. And then it said a free burning fire in a ventilation deficient room. So where you don't necessarily have all the resources you need, you are independently, if you're that dresser in the bedroom, if you're that business amongst a bunch of business, you're just on fire. That right there, it said, is a sign of an impending flashover. And so I was thinking about the businesses and all of us, even when we work for someone else, we're still running an independent business, even in the part that you control. The goal almost has to be, if you don't create a backdraft, you got to be targeting a flashover. Your goal has to be that every person that is exposed to me, the heat coming off of me has to be so great that everything around me catches on fire at one time. Every person around me catches on fire. Every customer around me catches on fire. Everything that's in this room with me, I'm going to ignite at one time. That's how much heat or much energy I'm going to be generating. That's how much power, how much presence, how much fire I'm going to have about what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, when I'm doing it, where I'm doing it. That's going to create an effect that if you in this room, we almost should come with a warning label. I'm warning you. You come in this room with me, you are likely at some point to catch on fire. And you're not going to be at the door. So you may or may not have just walked in. You may be at the back of the room. You may be near a window. When a flashover happens, people usually jump out of windows. You just trying to get at it because there is no way to escape it. Every single thing in there is on fire. And it didn't gradually move across the room to you. It didn't like a backdraft. You see it coming. No, you're standing at the back of the room and the whole room just poof. And so when I was thinking, I was like, man, very dangerous in life, but an excellent way for your business to take off, or an excellent goal of our business world. I can't think of a better thing that I would like to see happen than every single facet of my business to catch on fire at the same time. My marketing catch on fire, my profits catch on fire, my customer base catch on fire, my product catch on fire, my reach catch on fire, just all at once, which usually, people be like, I don't want to grow too fast. I understand it, but what a great place to be if we can reach the temperature. So just another one of those natural things that occurred. And when I was reading about it, even weeks ago when we were talking, I was like, man, I don't know which one is better. The backdraft we talked about kind of cool, but it's a little easier to handle because usually you outside of it and you can see it at the door puffing. So when you open it, it comes towards you. So usually only you have a chance to dive and not go in. There is no flashover. You need to try to protect them, keep the temperature balanced, do something about the thermal layer. But when it happens, it is going to be a very deadly, a dangerous occurrence if there's people in there. Usually people are going to get hurt, but bad for fire, great for business because the people inside have no control over it and you will be affected by it. So think if we can cause a flashover in our workspace, in our life space, in our natural, physical, spiritual, mental spaces that we in, how do we create that flashover effect that we have the ability to touch every single part of every single being in every single way in whatever it is we're doing. So that was just the thought today, just intentionally trying to create that flashover type of experience for people that are in contact with me, rather they're in there, because truth is you may have just walked in the room or you may have been in the room 45 minutes. We don't know when this occurs. It just depends on when did you arrive. You know what I mean? You the person that got there a few seconds ago. Well, good for you. Flashover just happened when you came in, and life's about to catch fire very quickly. Like, man, I walked in and boom. And we hear those stories. People be like, man, I arrived and I walked there, dude, he said something that set me on fire. People be like, I've been rocking with Raymond for 5 years, dude. He walked in on that fifth year, first day. And I don't know what was wrong with him. He said something that set everything we had went crazy. This dude got us ignited. We took off running. And so, you just don't know. But that heat been building is when you come. But we do know that once it reaches that temperature, everything in there got to go. It lights up like an instantaneous, like a blow. You're like, what in the world just happened? So just being intentional about how to create that in my business world, mental world, personal world, things like that, fellas.
Really cool stuff. Flash over fire. So when the temperature is so great that everything combusts in one time, basically. All right. Yeah. Okay. So took down a couple notes in there. Always been looking for different quotes also to put it together. I saw a quote here. It says, "Nothing is instant. Everything needs a process." Right. So when you do get to that level of a flash over fire, that like the temperature is so great that everything catches on fire, it means that ourselves as leaders, we have to get there, right? It's difficult to just become a flash over fire just like that, right? Other elements need to take place, as you talked about, starting with location, volume, different things. Okay. I wanted to start with the location, let's say. So in your business, location matters, but let's say in an organization also, I'll give an example, but where I work, okay, all the directors and coordinators were all on the third floor in one room all together. Okay. So whenever an employee had any type of dispute or wanted to speak to the director, what had to happen is that they had to walk all the way up. They had to open this door, basically see all of their bosses, walk through all their bosses to go in the back to see the director to talk about basically what they wanted to talk about. That's not an environment where anyone is comfortable, to be transparent, to actually talk. That just detaches people completely from what's really going on. So I'm really happy that as I came in, that was actually one of the big projects. I don't know the exact word in English, how we call it, but in French, they say transversal. So instead of having a really top-down approach, as much as possible, we want it to be horizontal. So all of the directors, all of the coordinators, we split them up into different, how can I say that? Let's say there are 4 floors. Well, if the gym is on one floor, the director of the gym is on that floor, with the staff. If, let's say me, for instance, the director of the whole center, I'm on the first floor with everyone, as people come in, I leave the door open if I need to. So it's a lot more available, people can actually communicate. That makes more sense. So location also is something we have to think of, just something as simple as that, having all the leadership in one place, separated from everyone else. Just naturally, when it's a big organization, people will be afraid to actually tell you the truth. And I find that in leadership, our greatest currency is having people who are willing to tell us the truth. But we got to kind of create that environment, because that's what we need. Size, volume, and shape. You're so right. I feel like you could have a flash over fire with 2 people, with 3 people, like you could with 500 people. It really depends with the type of environment that you build. Growth rate, definitely. What are we creating in order to grow ourselves and in order to help other people grow also? Because without growth, no flash over fire happens, because the whole temperature needs to be so high that that's how people combust. So we can't just have one part of the room that's really, really hot and the other ones are cold. As much as possible, the whole temperature in the organization needs to be raised up to a certain level. What are we growing with? So our services, our people also. So what type of services do we have? Are they really, really making an impact? Are they really, really customer centric? Are we actually employee centric? Our employees, how do we approach them? Are we there to actually really make them evolve? Because the more they evolve, the more we evolve. And ventilation, how much air are we feeding this business or these people that are with us, on this journey? That's also a big, big thing. How much decision-making leadership can they take to actually help us go where we need to go? So that's how I'm thinking. I'm really thinking nothing is instant. It's a process. When you do get to that level of a flash over fire, that's definitely a level I would love to get to. I'm not there yet. All these things need to take place, but all these things are developed over a certain amount of time. They're a process, and we can't cheat any step of the process, for sure. I find we talked about preparation last week, Alvin. Prepare to win, expect to win, and play to win. Everything starts with preparation. So I think of this room that takes on fire with a flash over fire. I think of things that I've slowly built up, that overall temperature up until a level where, hey, when you get there, there's nothing you can do to stop it. Anyone that walks into that organization or any client that comes in will catch the fire right away, but now I'm really thinking about process. How can I develop this environment that just creates that flash over fire at some point? Because when you do get there, hey, I was thinking about my wife when you were talking also, Alvin, because she's been in business for 3 years now, and she's at a point now where she can see it. Okay, we had a lot of conversations about that, but within this year, she could easily triple her business, like just this year, not by working harder, just because she's at that point now where she's like, okay, I need to hire this person to help me with this. I need to do that. Like, it's not about her doing everything anymore, but over the past 3 years, she's raised up that temperature. She's been raising up that temperature, and now she's at that level now where small decisions here and there can just accelerate everything tenfolds. And I'm seeing it with my own eyes. She's seeing it too, and it's really a cool place to be. It's a cool place to be because it's not just about her anymore. It's really about just moving one small piece to the puzzle, and everything can explode. So yeah, man, that's a really cool concept that you introduced, and thank you for that.
Thanks. Thank you for the feedback.
Well, Al, don't think we should allow you on after a few weeks off because you come back with some kind of fire here. All right. Well, this needs more time than you're giving us here because this is deep stuff. But so here's my thoughts. All right. So you do need I'm glad you introduced it like this because that backdraft needed the entire conversation. But you can't have a flashover without a backdraft, correct?
No, you can. You don't have them at the same time because the backdraft is a lack of oxygen, and when you introduce the oxygen into the room, it explodes toward the resource. A flashover, you're literally in there, and there's air in there. It's just so hot that the temperature of all the things reach their burning point pretty much at once, and it all take off, irregardless to whether you're in there or not.
Does one precede the other, or can they one happen before or after each other, or do they?
Well, usually it would seem like if I was to say if they were going to proceed, which one would be first, it would seem like a flashover probably occurred in the room and sucked all the oxygen out. Okay. And then it's just simmering, looking for more oxygen. So once all the oxygen is exhausted in the room, the fire is going to just die down and smolder.
Right.
And then that would probably create the opportunity for a backdraft. You open that door because
Right.
that oxygen is going to introduce, and the fire is going to race across to the oxygen that's just been introduced.
Right.
So
Got
probably
it.
a flashover occurred in the room and you were not there.
Okay. All right. So a flashover, as we all kind of reviewed, it's when everything simultaneously catches on fire. It just reminds me of, I was on a podcast on Thursday and I was talking about patience. My theme on that was patience, having patience in business and enjoying every step of your journey. For instance, both you and Ray are entered a new level of challenge that's keeping you, on the edge, keeping you alive, keeping your mind awake, because the brain loves novelties. It loves new things. So it's keeping you guys engaged. And I would, just like in business, you just got to be patient and enjoy every savor, almost like a meal. You don't want to rush through that steak or that whatever it is you love too fast, because once your belly's full and you get to the end, it's like just enjoy that journey, enjoy every piece of it, and savor it, because everything's about timing. And when you look at this contagion and this timing of, look at celebrities, sometimes they hit you and it goes really crazy for them, like there's the one hit wonders, and that just hits and everybody loves it, and it just seems it works, and it's just going like fire. They're making t-shirts, they're making memes, they're making this. It's just crazy when this thing hits, when this flashover hits, and everything in its path, everything that was, it could have been, it's a timing. I was watching a little bit on Whitney Houston, and Whitney Houston had a flashover with everything she did in the 90s. I mean, they took the anthem and turned it into a single, and it blew up. I mean, everything in her room, in her world turned on. She just had that thing. So, when you look at your steps, the stages or the components of the flashover, location of the fire. So timing is so much everything, because Zoom, let's take Zoom, what we're doing now. 4 years ago, I didn't know about Zoom. I think I might have been on it once.
Yeah.
Once or twice, but the technology, no one knew it. Britain was attempting to get everybody, they were trying to push telemedicine for a long time. But sometimes the technology is brilliant, but the timing isn't right. People aren't ready for it. The big screen TV, I remember when the plasma came out, there was only a few people, but no one knew how to work it. The technology wasn't ready for it. 5Gs or whatever they used to, push it through. It wasn't ready. Timing is everything. So the location of the fire, are you ready? Is it timing? This is why we've got to enjoy the journey. And then the size, the volume, the shape, the compartment, growth rate, the ventilation. It must be, so let me get this right. If I got this right, for this to happen, the room must be deficient of, must it be deficient of oxygen?
No, it's just the way the thermal layer. So the ventilation and air, it has to be some oxygen or things can't combust. So
Right.
it isn't that it's deficient of oxygen, it's that the compartment is holding the heat so well that the temperature is rising to the point that it's just putting everything at its ignition temperature at the same time. So there has to be some air in there or it won't burn. It would just smolder and sit and wait for that backdraft opportunity. Like it would eventually reach a backdraft.
So the ventilation, it must be ideal for it to happen, right?
Yes.
And so you're looking at distractions. I wrote there beside that, when you said the ventilation and the room, if this person, this business, this leader is distracted, that buildup, that perfect timing isn't there. It's diluted. The energy, the tension is diluted, and it's not. And so when that opportunity arises, it's not going to be ready perfectly for that. So that room, the the ventilation, the environment in that room must be perfect. And the growth rate of this trajectory going up. So many things have to line up for this is why the patience is necessary, because you need all of these things to happen. Ray, you need to go into this organization. You need time to look around. You need time to get your bearings. You need time to get to know your people, to build rapport with the right departments, to find out that, all your leaders are in one room versus the next, and to take a bigger 40,000-foot view of the entire place, to see how everybody how the mechanics, the gears, are they working together? Is everybody, it's really, leaders have to really step back and have that strategic time to really look at what their environment, their whole thing, because you're walking into something that already, you didn't create this. It's already existed. So you have to step back now, and the farther away you can lead, the more you can see this backdraft happening. This flashover is gonna happen, and you can actually guide it to happen by, implementing the steps. Where's the location? For instance, again, Ray pointed out a location of the small little fire in his operation wasn't set up right. The ventilation in that little department wasn't right to allow transparency to happen, right? It isn't allowing the spark to happen. The environment isn't right. It's warm in there. It's warm. And the reason why they hired us, a match like Raymond, is the leaders knew we needed a new fire to start this. We need, this old one's probably wet. The one they had was wet. They're probably striking and nothing's happening. So they need a new, fresh spark to come in. So Ray has to go in there and he has to look, and he's looking at the volume, the size, the compartment, the volume of people he has to lead. How's that going to work? And can I take each individual department, make that ventilation, that room perfect, set it up for a flashover, right? Set it up, look at the growth rate. How are we growing? Is there enough heat at the level we're at now? What temperature are we at? And where do I need to take it to that 211, 212 to boil, and then to fire, set it on fire? And each department, how's it looking? So there's so many. I wrote here, if you're not on fire right now, your department, your life, your profession, you need to go and look at the steps. I have 4, but it's probably more. You need to go and look at the characteristics that set up a flashover. So my business is cold. My career is cold. Where's the location of my fire? Yeah, am I, as I said about Zoom, is the timing right for my technology, for my talent? Am I in the right environment? Am I singing country in a hip hop era, or do I need to tweak my country? Things like that. Do I need to collaborate? You had back in the day Run DMC and Aerosmith. They collaborated on the timing was perfect. Hit, boom, Walk This Way blew up, and it caught fire. It allowed Aerosmith to catch a new generation, new genre. And Run DMC, same thing. They brought in, it's just this sweet collaboration that they kind of looked at and went, how can we light the fire on this? So we combined it all together. I wrote here, this is why celebrities also, by the way, are tough to be around. When you hear about GOATs in any area, you'll always hear, Steve Jobs, he's mean, he's nasty, he was blah, 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 blah. And you hear this about a lot of people who are GOATs, who left their career as a GOAT. It's tough to be around them because they're looking to ignite everything. They have to. If you want to bring the best product on stage, remember, you're getting regular old logs of wood coming to join you. They haven't lit up yet, or else they wouldn't be with you. But they're coming to join your team, and they're logs, they're just Some may be warm, some are cold, but they need to be around the fire long enough, intense enough to, and you know, when you throw coal or wood on a fire, not all of it's going to catch, because not all of it is also ready. It's not dry enough. Some of the log may not be dry enough. You can't control that. But the ones who are dry, ready, they will ignite at the same time as the original fire. So this is why, again, it's tough to be around a basketball player. You know, let's take a team who's hot right now. They're on fire. That player, LeBron James, whoever you want to pick, will call out players Michael Jordan, you know, you'd call out a Scottie Pippen for not making that right decision. You'll call out, you know, the players around him so they could elevate. Without him, Pippen, I know he argues he should be this or that, but without Jordan, you'd never be. He brought you out who you are, because he's the one who's igniting. Everything around him blew up at the same time. Then I wrote here, the fire will eventually exhaust itself. If burned long enough, it will exhaust itself. You know, unless you keep changing one of the variables, you know, change your ventilation. So those who are already hot or currently hot who are listening to this, they need to go, okay, how do I maintain the fire for as long as possible? Nothing can burn forever, but how can I maintain it as long as possible? I got to change my location. So change the game. Change the size, the volume, the shape, the growth rate, control it, increase it, ventilation of the room, right? How do I continue to keep that right ventilation? Work. Jim Rohn said it best. He said, work harder on yourself than you do on your job. And that's the same thing is, you know, a leader has to work harder on him or herself than they do on their job. So these are some great points that we can literally, nature, I love nature because nature has done it perfectly. It's done whatever it does perfectly, absolutely. I don't know if you could fix, to us on the outside, nature might look like it's chaotic, but it's perfect in its design. And if we can just follow a lot of what nature leaves, the clues it leaves behind. But again, fire is hot, fire is exhaustible. It can be very draining, can be dangerous to whatever it touches. I don't know if everybody's ready all the time to go on fire, because it does take a lot of energy. It does eat up a lot of energy. It's very destructive. It can be destructive if not controlled. And I think, you know, you could burn for a bit, cool, burn, cool. When you know these variables, I think you can control your game. So that's awesome. All right, Al.
Yeah, I tell you what, as I'm listening to y'all, great input, but as I'm listening, I'm like, wow, yeah, this is way deeper than I initially thought when I was writing it out. I was thinking I was going to share it. I was like, oh yeah, this, you could get into it. But one of the things you said just now, Alvin, that really triggered it, and sports is always such a good analogy. Maybe it's just for us, it's the group, because it resonates. But I was sitting there thinking, you know, people compare Michael Jordan and LeBron James, and you know, you're constantly trying to compare greatness. And I think LeBron James is good. I just don't think he's a Michael Jordan level. And now, as we're having this conversation, now I think I understand why I keep saying that. Good leaders have the ability to catch individuals on fire. So if you think about it, I'm on fire, and then one night me and Raymond's on fire, and then one night me and Alvin's on fire, and then one night me and Dr. Cartwright's on fire. A great leader has the ability to make Alvin, Raymond, Charlie, and himself on fire at the same time. You know what I'm saying? So LeBron goes, and him and Anthony Davis might be doing good, or him. Michael Jordan had the ability to make a team all catch on fire at once. So you see LeBron, he'd be like, man, LeBron and AD had a great game. When you saw the Bulls, you was like, the Bulls are playing incredible. Like the guy coming off the bench came in and had a great game for who he was. You know what I mean? He usually give you 2 points a night. Mike had him giving you 6 points a night and 6 boards. Everybody on the team, he set on fire. You know, it wasn't, if you take him off the floor, man, there we go. As soon as he sit down, the team, no, that it was so, he was so good that when he went and sat down, the room didn't stop burning. You could have removed the initial item that started the fire, and the fire was still burning. Like if it was a dresser on fire, you take the dresser out, people be like, well, there go the fire. Guess we're gonna get cold. The great ones have the ability to be removed from the situation and the fire keep going. And I think that's when you know that's when you've arrived. When you can remove the source and the flames continue, you done won the game, dude. You done won the game. I mean, which is right. Great leadership 101. It should be able to exist without you. If you have to be president, you didn't do a good job setting it up in the first place. But I think that's what it is. I think as we talk about that flashover and this thing, you start thinking the people that we really think are great, because we know a lot of great individual contributors. You know what I mean? How do you not think Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is one of the greatest of all time? Because you think about Magic Johnson when you think about making the Lakers great. You think about Kareem being a great individual contributor to Magic Johnson's Laker team. It's Magic that you like, yeah, Magic showed up, the Lakers win Showtime. Kareem was there hooping the whole time. He's still putting up his numbers. James, I mean, they was there. Magic come on the scene, all of a sudden, that's different. He changed it up, changed it. I mean, it's funny. You sit there, you're like, them people was always there. And you can tell. That's when people start talking about it, that ignited. And then when they leave, we still talk about the Lakers. Magic retired, 20 years ago? This guy, we still, 30, almost 30 years ago. You still talking about the Lakers. They still a dynasty, still replacing parts. Just as long as they can keep one of them people with that fire, you just keep throwing wood on it. You know, that's some of the old wood, the same flame. It's like the Olympic torch. Never goes out because they keep the fire burning somewhere. The question is, where is it burning now, and what are you going to throw on that fire, and how big is it going to be now? So, yeah, man, that was what you all said, just was amazing. Even as Raymond was talking about his wife's business growing, he said she can just see it. It's right there. Like, you know, she growing it now to the point that I don't have to work as hard. I just need to get the right people. And as she's growing and understanding it, and she builds it up, you figure everything's going to catch on fire at once. Raymond thinks he's busy now, and man, I can't keep up with my own work, my wife's stuff. It's just, this is crazy around here. Everything we touch is turning to gold. Like, that's what people think. No, you guys been building that temperature. It just built and built, and finally everything you all are around, you, her, I think you're feeding off each other. So even if she was to be, you carrying the temperature when she's not, it's keeping everything at that temperature, slowly rising it. As it rises, dude, the things don't have a choice but to ignite. It's not even optional. You don't have a choice, like you said. I don't know which one you said it, but if you stay in the room, you don't have a choice. That's hard. That's why it's hard to be around them. They're pushing you to your ignition temperature. You know, when you get in the room and it's uncomfortable, man, all this work, they're forcing you. Your choices are get out or catch on fire. And I think that's where we almost need to be. Just when we think about our leadership, get out or catch on fire. I mean, it sounds cruel, but to your point, that's why they're hard to be around. Just get out or catch on fire. Which one you gonna? I mean, I ain't trying to work. We heard people say, I ain't trying to work that hard. Someone actually told me before, Al, this is your level. This is ours. We're not coming. Your expectations are too much. We're not coming. Then get out. Because we're going to operate right here. I can't come down to here. Then I'm going to feel it makes more sense for you to come to here than for me to come down here. You know, I would decrease myself so that we feel better about the level you're on. That doesn't make sense in anybody's world. Because once we all get here, then we can talk to somebody else and get here. You know what I mean? But people are uncomfortable with that, man. They're uncomfortable. And you'll hear them say, you're just difficult. You just you're too black and white. These rules, you got too many expectations. I mean, but how often it's funny to me, I just may digress, but why is it no one ever says you don't have any, you don't have enough expectation? We're very hard on the person pushing you to catch on fire and not very hard on the person that wants to sit around and be soggy and wet. You know what I mean? You see the person, I mean, we hide from the truth. You see the person that's 400 pounds, nobody want to talk to you, but they'll talk about you for going to the gym too much. You just want to go to the gym every day. You're not saying anything about the person over there eating zooms and wham-whams and ho-hos every day? Shouldn't we be less concerned about my healthiness and more concerned about their lack of health? I mean, I've rarely seen, I know that you can have a heart attack working out, but my money is on the person working out that's less likely to have a cardiac issue early than the person eating zooms and wham-whams. But yet we'll point at the person pushing everybody to the gym. Man, you doing too. It's, as we're talking about this, it's baffling. And you're right. People that are great, let's say Michael Jordan shoot 1,000 shots a day or something. I expect you to be in the gym shooting on the other end. I only want to do 100. Not in play with me, you don't. I'll never pass you the ball. Oh, man, we got the same 24 hours. You know what I mean? If the great one can squeeze it into his schedule, it's surely busier than yours because he has more of a demand on his time. Then in your free time, you don't have time to get in the gym. You don't have time to work on your business. You don't have time to brainstorm about new products, new procedures. You don't have time to be better to your employees, to your point, Raymond, be employee-centric, customer-centric. You don't have time to work on that. But you want to be McDonald's. Right? When the most recognizable symbols are. You want to be Coca-Cola. Right. Trying to be Coca-Cola at Vista's process don't work, right? You know, it's like that coming to America. You want to be McDonald's and act like McDaniels. Can't do it. Can't do it. Never gonna get there.
Yep. Exactly. Exactly.
Yep. I'll sum all that up, Howie. Yep.
Exactly. I don't know how you say it better than that. I guess a lot of people want something, not understanding what that really means. You know, you want to be McDonald's. Do you know what that is? You know, leading McDonald's. You know what it takes to lead McDonald's. We're talking about, you know, flashovers, but if everything catches on fire, are you capable of standing in that room? You know, if that's what you want, do you even know like what that takes? You know, I'll go back to 2 examples. You talked about that person that's out of shape, you know, that's overweight, that's eating. I saw a video 2 days ago from David Dawkins, and he talks about, you know, being honest with ourselves. And, you know, what he says to himself is that he used to be fat. Like, that's the word, you know, that's the word. I used to be fat. You know, people don't want to hear the truth. He had to hear the truth first. He had to accept it. He was like, hey, I'm fat. I need to I need to do something about it. You know, when I go back to basketball, also, you talked about these Bulls teams and Michael Jordan. I feel one thing we should never forget also is Phil Jackson, you know, the Zen master in the background with players going into meetings with incense and giving them books to read and all of that stuff. Like, the way I look at it, Michael Jordan was the fire starter. Phil Jackson was probably the glue. You know, he was probably the oxygen, you know, feeding that fire as much as possible and keeping people together. We need that. Also, I don't know if it was you or Alviin, but you guys talked about that the compartment needs to be holding the heat so well in order to have a flash over. And that's one of the things I was thinking about. And how do we hold that heat, you know, to the most optimal way. Well, first we have to understand as leaders, we are fire starters. That's exactly what we are. That's exactly where we are. But once we know that, we also have to understand our roles. Understand our role. Our role is not to do everything.
Yeah.
But our role is to bring that temperature up, to start these fires in different places, to make sure that every little area can hold that heat, that's coming. And by that also, I'll give you guys another example, but it's funny again. Well, I coach different people through my business, and this week, my director of sales came to see me about like one of her employees, okay, that he had a tough time making calls. He had a tough time doing different things. And we sat down, and automatically what I wanted to do is go see that employee later, put it in my schedule and coach that employee. But then I realized something for the first time as I was speaking to her, and she had her plan laid out and it was a great plan. I realized, hey, it's not up to me to coach that employee. It's up to her. My job is to coach her. So just understanding my role, where it's not beneficial to the organization for me to go around doing all these things when I have leaders who do a great job. And yeah, I just need to focus on coaching them. So then I understood for the first time, because I asked that question to different people. I was like, what am I doing here exactly? Like, what's the point of me being here? And that's when I understand I'm really here to start fires and be the glue, be the oxygen. In the end, that's really what it comes down to. So with the rest, you let people do their job, but you raise that temperature up. You got to know your role, 100%. You got to know your role. And then we talked about also that we can't always have a flashover fire. There are times where that fire may, go down a little bit. And then I think about just this concept of seasons in life. People thinking, hey, I've worked really hard and I failed at something. Well, no, this is just a season. This is just a season of the process that you're in. There's no such thing as failing. You're still here. There are other seasons now to win, that championship or go forward. And I think of football, let's say, when I look at our off season, preseason, season, postseason, the way we prepare is that, let's say during the off season, for months, you're gonna be up at 4:30. It's gonna suck. It's gonna be hell. You're gonna walk into that gym and you're gonna see them putting garbage cans all over it because someone's throwing up today. It's just normal, right? But that's for a couple months. After that, we go into preseason. After that, we go into the season, right? So even the way we prepare physically for athletes, you start with endurance, hypertrophy, strength, power, and then you go into that peaking phase, right? That peaking phase, again, it's when every compartment can hold the heat so well, and then you have that flashover fire. But then you got to tweak things here and there because it is going to go back down. It is a cycle in the end, right? And my last example, this is one that I actually really love. Whenever something really burns and I don't necessarily understand, I always go back to that. It's like you have this stick, okay, this metal stick, and then you put it on the sawmill, okay, that turns really, really fast. Then what happens? The heat goes up. There are a bunch of things flying in every direction. If you are that metal stick, you are freaking out. You are literally freaking out. There are things literally rubbing against you. You feel like you're about to probably explode. You feel you're about to die. But what's really happening is that you're being sharpened. You're being sharpened so that you can become a sword eventually, right? And that's exactly how I see preparation, is that there are moments where you're going to be so uncomfortable. There are moments where you'll feel like you don't understand anything that's going on. But in the end, you're simply being sharpened, into something else. And yeah, so this is me, and I'm passing the mic.
Hey, Alvin, if I can, just one real quick. One of the things you said, Raymond, that jumped out when you first started, I hadn't even thought about, and I won't even get into it because Alvin might not get to talk, is you said, you said, do you have the appropriate equipment to stand in an environment that is on fire? That's a whole, I was like, yeah, I didn't think about that. And that's a whole nother conversation because like, even if you show up to the room, like when there was a fire, we wore fire equipment. You couldn't come in there in what we're wearing today. You couldn't even made it to the flash of a point. You at zero. Most people are gonna get hurt in a flash of it in fire gear. You show up in what we have on, you can get in the room. You'd have left a long time ago. The heat wouldn't have been anywhere near a flash of a point before you got very, very uncomfortable. And so that goes to show you that it ain't enough to be there. It ain't enough about location, even these steps. You have to have on the appropriate equipment to be able to stay long enough in the room to experience it. And the people that don't have the appropriate equipment, don't have the perfect character, don't have the appropriate mindset, the build, the drive, the stamina, the endurance, they leave before you ever get there, and they miss out on the greatness. They miss the great moment in that moment because they didn't come with the right stuff to even make it. Anyway, I won't go in that, but yeah, when you said that was the first thing I was like, wow, yeah, you're right. You'll miss it. You won't even be around when it happened. You left when we were halfway there and thought you did something. Man, that was great. We did that. You're like, man, we only halfway there. The Bulls were good in 80, but 80, right? They was still, Michael Jordan was there in 1980. They were good. They weren't as good as they were in 81, 2, and 3, and 6, 7, 8, but you know what I mean? Or was it 90? Sorry, 90. I guess I'm saying 80, 90. Yeah, but they were good in 90. Think about it, from 90 to 91, something happened. And then from there, it was good. You know what I mean? So, but they got rid of some people. I don't know where BJ Armstrong went. He was just gone. Just gone. I hate to use him as an example, but he was just gone. I don't know if it was him or if it was Mike or if it was the team, but yeah, he was gone. Yeah. Anyway, go ahead, Al. Sorry about that.
One quick thing, Alvin,
right.
I just wanted to add. Sorry about that. Do you guys know Brian Scalabrine? Does that ring a bell?
Yeah, the name does.
Yeah, the White Mamba. The White Mamba, that's how they call him. He used to play for the Boston Celtics, won a couple championships with the Boston Celtics. He's a very successful sports broadcaster now. But Brian Scalabrine, all throughout his NBA career, he was considered to be a bench warmer, right? But he played about 13, 14 years in the NBA. They kept him around, all this time. Why exactly? And then there was this running joke all over the internet. Again, they called him the White Mamba because he was like this white guy that never played, but always stuck around. He was ginger. And, they called Kobe the Black Mamba, right? Kobe Bryant. So he was the opposite of Kobe. That's how they called him like that. So, but when he retired, he had all these people telling him, hey, I could play better than you. You suck. You shouldn't be in the NBA. I can do what you do. And he kept telling people, you guys don't understand what it actually takes for me to be here. I'm actually closer to Michael Jordan and LeBron James than you guys are close to me in terms of talent. All right. And he did this open tryout in Boston. So he just called out anyone who wanted to come to the gym and actually play against him. And you had high-level college players. You had all these guys that came in, and he beat up on all of them so easily. It was ridiculous, right? And that's just to show how certain people think they want something. They think they know what it takes. But this career bench warmer is here compared to anyone else playing basketball in the street. it's two different worlds, right? So that was just a great way to explain it, that like you're looking at this guy, you're laughing at this guy, you don't understand the skill level and the talent that it takes. He's 6'9", 250 also, right? So that's just a funny thing about the white mamba, and it just shows how, you know, you have these couch athletes, you know, saying I can do this, I can do that. You have no idea. You have no idea.
True.
All right, let me tell you about the danger of letting you guys talk ahead. Hey, you just took my damn thing anyway. So I'll start with LeBron. Yeah, that's a really really great metaphor. Is LeBron? He is good. His individual self. He's a great player, great records, the whole 9 yards. But he keeps having to move around to get a team to make him better, make him while Jordan stayed, and whoever joined him, he set them on fire. Mm-hmm. Look at Kerr. Like Kerr is a guy nobody even really realizes has 8 rings or whatever he may have at home. But Kerr was a huge part of that team, and look at that. What's his name? He took the crazy man, Rodman. He took Rodman, who was a hot player, and set him ablaze and made him a legend now. You know, he would if he stayed anywhere else. I mean, he was at Detroit too. Mm-hmm. And, but he took him at the right time. Boom, set him on fire. Right? Because he was already hot, but he took him on fire. So yeah, and if LeBron goes and looks at the list of things, location of the fire. Yeah, he put himself in the locations, LA, Miami, Cleveland. He kept putting himself in the location, and it was good. The size, the volume, the shape, the compartment, growth rate, all those things were great. They're all there. The ventilation, though, was what was missing, because he wasn't making sure the room was enclosed properly, and then the right oxygen added, and whatever the mechanism that creates this flashover where everything ignites. If you went and looked at this metaphor and look at his entire thing, what am I missing here? I've got the location. I'm in Miami. I'm in LA. They put together the team for me, bought the team. Look at LA right now. They bought that team. Look at that all-star team. I mean, but you're right. They're not as fire starter to get everybody on fire at the same time. It's individuals. And so you need I think their ventilation's a problem. Because you got the right players, you got the size, you got the volume, you got the location. LA, if you can't, man, LA's got money. It's fame, fortune, they got a lot of things. But that ventilation, I feel, is the problem there. So great one on that. DeRay, I was and Al, I'm not sure I can't remember what your organization, but the bigger Ray climbed up the ladder real big, and the bigger the organization wrote here, the more Ray has to go and look at his pieces in order to get the entire thing to hit flashover. He has to prepare each department to facilitate heating of everything by him. He has to be the igniter, but to allow everything to vibrate at the same, almost like the piano in a room, hit that key and all the pianos are tuned and everything will ding at the same time. He has to go now and look at what pieces aren't ready for ignition. What pieces do I have to focus on right now to bring this up to that level, and then make sure everybody's ready. And then boom, it's ready for explosion. It's ready to go. We're ready to hit. So now he's working on each department. So he has to take really a step back and look at every department. If there's 10, he has to look at all 10. And are they ready? Go in there and feel a temperature. Are they cool? Do I have to light this one up? Do I have to bring this temperature up in this room and focus on that one for a few weeks? Bring that temperature rising and leave somebody in place. Ignite a piece of, wood in there and leave it and simmer. Focus on that as you're talking about that leader. You shouldn't go and try to start her fire over here. You should fire her up, leave her in that spot, or him or her, and let them heat up their department. And you're just monitoring them. Trying to monitor all the sticks in that department is going to be difficult. Just monitor the starter in that room. That's a lot more efficient, or else you'll waste your fire. And then you touch on the armchair quarterback. That's what I wrote down. In there, and those people in the arena. There's a reason why, by the way. And if you think about that, most of the people on the floor of a basketball, let's take basketball. Most people on the floor are influencers. They're also in some kind of influence. You know, you look at the floor at the LA, you have Jack, Nicholson. You have in New York, you have who's infamous?
Spike Lee.
Spike Lee's on the floor. And then everybody on the floor feels some kind of heat. They can handle the heat. Players who has never touched a floor or just use tweets and Instagram, they're in the comments. They're way up in the stands. Because they can't handle that heat when they get close to those players. When you get down to that level, you realize, oh my God, they're bigger than I thought. They're faster than I thought. They're another level, right? This is one reason why I love mastery, and I love this idea of, because I realize there's levels. Any athlete, anybody here realizes when my son played ball, he began in house league, and in house league, you see some kids and you go, man, they're going to be great. Look at them. They stand out, right? Versus a kid in the outfield pouring sand in his hat, and the other one who's, running after the ball the kid missed and bringing it back in and scoring and doing. Wow. Then you go to, from house league to select team, which is 1 up. And wow, these guys are great. Oh my God. Then you go up and you go, wow, they put those ones. And then you go triple A, and then they go to it's just the levels that you can climb. Just like the heat, there's temperatures in heat, right? There's 10, 20, 30. There's degrees in heat that you can turn things up until you get to that flashover, right? So, as you said, White Mamba, you have to realize that, yeah, it looks easy out here from your seat in your house. But to even sit your ass on that bench, on that floor, for them to potentially call you out at one point and go, hey, injured his ankle, get on there real quick. You have to be ready. They're not going to throw on, dude eating the ojos and whatever, right? Oh, you're ready. Oh, really? Oh, 1 second. I'm just finishing this, right? Getting run on. You don't know. You're ready. You're ready. So you look at the Raptors last, 2019 when they won, they had a flashover. Everything was ready. Everybody was ready. Mindset was ready. Kawhi came on, it was ready. They gave him enough time. The entire team actually brought them that championship. Kawhi was just a nice little addition. As we can see, Kawhi is away now and he hasn't done anything. It needed that perfect flashover. And they had that year. Perfect flashover. Nick Nurse, you name it, all of them. So this is a great point, man. There's a lot of meat on this bone. If anybody listening is struggling in their company or their life or their whatever, and you look at the flashover, and then you also have to ask yourself, am I ready for the heat? Because there's a lot of heat. It's to hit that ignition point. It can burn you. Are you ready for it? It's not for everybody. Because it takes, and to sustain it, it'll destroy you if you're not ready. If you haven't got the right equipment, you talked about that. It'll destroy the container it's in. You just gotta have the right equipment. and training, and you don't shove a firefighter in there without training. The equipment, the training, everything prepares you for that fire. So awesome. Great point.
I know one of the things you said that was I hadn't thought about again as we go through it is, and you was talking about like the Knicks game and Lakers game, even the people that get near the court, the fans, players aside, the guy that owns the seats or the lady that owns the seats that sit on the floor, they already been through the flash. I mean, think about what it took. Unless their parents, somebody in their family, someone somewhere has been through the process that you able to get to that to own those seats. You and I might get to visit. That's why we don't get to sit there all the time. We just get to get in there, you get in there. But think, Spike Lee sit there every game. I mean, his seats. But think about what it took Spike Lee, what level of energy it took for him to be able to own that seat. Jack Nicklaus, think about what they've done. And maybe you sitting there and you even see some people that are stars ain't even there all the time. It might be they don't like basketball, I get it, or baseball, but think about the people you do see sitting around. There's some of them we don't even know. But my guess is that everyone with a courtside seat that owns the tickets is probably someone you should be connected with. We're drawn to the Spike Lees and Jack, but whoever's 4 chairs down, if he owns them seats or she owns them seats, you probably should be trying to figure out who that is. And something about them tells me they did something to get to that seat.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They ain't work. They don't work for the team. Somebody should know. I mean, we overlook people. We overlook the obvious. You know what I mean?
And Al, the reason why they're also down that low is they want to catch a bit of that fire too.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Those people want to keep their fire burning. So they come every so often to be near that heat, right, of that game. So they can go back and reignite. So why we go to seminars, that's why we read books, because there's a little ember of that fire catching us, right, to take it back. Yeah.
You're right. They try, and you notice the players ain't scared of those folks. You run by, they step in and get somebody 5, he turn around, shoot a 3, ask him, did it go in, back? That's what because you're the same people.
Yeah.
You're just doing different things, but you're the same people. I play basketball, you run a production company, you run a gymnasium. We're the same people.
Yeah,
so
we got like Drake up here. Yeah.
Yeah. Same people. You're just not on the court. If I wasn't on the court, I'd be, think about it. They walk off the court, they're talking to you about what you do. It's the same story, just different professions. So it's easy to talk to the people on the court because they're the same mindset. Mm-hmm. You think about it. You get off the court, Steph Curry, you're like, man, I was at the gym 5 hours. You know what the CEO? I was reading books for 5 hours. Yeah. And I was paying 5 extra hours a week reading books. I got into these books. I had a series I'm studying just for no reason. Why are you studying that? You're 65, man. I think we can get better. Same thing Steph's saying. If I shoot some more, I think I can I can raise 2%. I need to make 2%. 2 out of 100 more shots need to fall for me. Like, think about how microscopic of an increase they need to get. I think if I can do that's crazy. Same people, dude. Same people. So yeah. When you was talking about that, I thought about that. Even the people that are around it, that's not even the same scope of work. They're the same people because that's what it takes to get down there in the trenches.
Yep.
All right. So for everyone listening out there, just remember there's different levels of heat too, right? So we want it to burn really, really hot. Maybe you don't want it to burn as hot. Maybe you do. No matter where you're at, basically in your journey, I guess the most important thing also is to figure out what you want. I know Alviin in TRM 10K, we talk about, that 10K program to reach the 10K. But at the same time, one of the really, really important things is to figure out what does that mean to you exactly. Because you don't want to end up somewhere that you don't really want to be at. Okay? So if 10K for you means less freedom, less this, less that, in the way that you want to do it, then why do you want to go there? You know, if 10K for you means more freedom, more this, more that, great. So always remember, I mean, everyone has a role to play, right? Maybe not everyone wants to be on that first level courtside with the life that comes with it, you know, with the attention that comes with it. That's okay too. But no matter where you are, okay, just make sure in the end you're chasing what's really creating what's really making you happy and making sure you're prepared for it. I guess for me, that's really how I think. I want to go as far as I can go. I want to learn as much as I can learn, but I always want to make sure that if I want something, I may not be 100% ready for it, but I gotta be prepared. You know, I gotta be prepared. If I want something, I want to make sure that if I do get there, I'm actually happy there, you know, so I can be proactive, so I can anticipate. Because in the end, I could say, I want this, I want this, I want that. But if I know these things that are important for me in my life will suffer from it, then I know before I even get there that, okay, course correction here. Maybe I go this way a little bit more, you know? So that's an important thing to always ask ourselves. We all have a role to play. We all have different dreams. We all want to fulfill our full potential, but maybe we all understand in this call that the closer you get to your full potential, the more it's gonna burn. That's for sure. Are you just okay with that? Because there's no way around it, you know? Are you okay with that? If you are, great. If you're not, that's okay too.
Yep.
And everybody in the arena is watching the same game. Just some people like to be way up high. Some people are down that one, and some people need to be courtside. Same game, same game. Where are you sitting?
And you know, this ends up being why, you know, like-minded people hang out. For instance, you know, as we all talked about, the people on the floor in their own homes or environment, they've also hit flashover. All right, that's why they have seasons tickets. They've hit. So coming on the floor, the heat, they're prepared for the heat. So you don't get them running nude on the floor trying to get attention. You don't get them jumping in the way of a player trying to grab them, and you right, because they're already prepared. They've felt the heat. They don't need to. They don't have to put security around them to make sure they're going to behave properly. Now you get some knucklehead up in the stands who has one too many and figures he can get on there, and you'll try all that kind of stuff because they haven't felt that heat. And you know, when you're, and this, I was telling this to somebody the other day, this is why I don't care about someone's opinion. If you're not in the arena playing, I don't really actually care what you say, because I know you don't know what it takes to be here, stay here, or get here. Your opinion doesn't actually matter to me. And I know if you're on this floor in this game, and if you're feeling the heat, you will respect the game and respect the talent and respect what it took. And you'll never get, it's rare you hear a successful person, rare you'll hear a truly successful online cutting somebody else up, online hating on other people as a profession. All right, maybe once they may have an opinion on their opponent, but that opinion is usually to drive that opponent either to be better or to get them emotional for a reason, for an outcome, to get in their heads. It's strategic. It's not just random. So, you know, I love this conversation, and I'm actually going to take this conversation. You know, I'm going to do a podcast on this, but you know, I'm going to take this conversation. This is the stuff leaders need to understand. Where's your leaders and any individual? Just take, okay, for leaders, where's your company? For individuals, where's your life? Where's your career? Do you need to look at these steps? Maybe you might be amazing, but you're in the wrong location. It's time to leave your location. You're in the wrong location because it matters for flashover to happen. You may need more size, more volume, the right people around you. How's your growth rate? Are you doing enough to grow? To enforce? Are you posting enough of your talent? Maybe you're not. Maybe you're not. You're not. Your organization isn't growing enough. Maybe you need to focus on growth, more promotion, marketing, advertising, to facilitate growth. And then where's the ventilation? Enough oxygen? Too much? Too little? Tweak your ventilation. If you're doing all those things and looking at all those things, then you got to be catching on fire. At some point, you got to have flashover, right? When you look around, as you said, and Raymond said it, he's looking at his wife's business and he's looking at the ceiling going, rolls of fire are happening here. About to have a flashover, right? So, yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. It's good, guys. Sorry to eat up the whole time, but welcome back.
Yeah, welcome back.
Bring in the fighter. You're right.
Bring
exactly.
in the fire. There you go.
Yeah, funny, man. Like, you look back over your life, and you're like, all these lessons I was missing while I was going through. Like, never had I thought about flashover backdraft one time in any other capacity other than how to not die in one.
Yeah.
So I was in survival mode, but I guess that's another thing. You just trying to survive. While you're in it, you don't get a chance to enjoy it because you usually try to survive it.
Yeah.
You reflect back and you're like, man, that was pretty good back then. I don't know what happened. But I love the point somebody made. The guy on the bench, that 12th man is better than everybody else. Boy, that 12th guy on that bench will light you up. You be like,
by far.
Man. Yeah.
By
Which also shows you how much better the starter is. The 12th guy will light you up. Imagine what you'd be like, you couldn't sit on their bench.
At that level also, it's not always just talent. I find sometimes the difference between like an all-star and a starter is mindset also. You have like just in college, like I remember college football, you had guys so talented, like ridiculously talented. There's no way they're not playing pro, but they're not composed. They make mistakes. They can't absorb information. Sometimes it's mindset also. At that level, everyone's so talented.
Yeah, no, and I laugh too at when I was in the boxing. You'd get some meathead comes in who he's big, he worked out, he's just large, and figures, okay, I want this skinny guy in here, or I'm gonna show them, and with no time they're gassed out and just puking, and the guy who's not even the biggest, strongest in our club is just walking right through. So there's levels to games. There's levels. That's why you go when you just have it.
I'll just tell you guys one quick thing before we go. But back in college, I was at this party with some friends, and I think you talked about that last week, Alviin. It was back in those days when someone steps on your shoe and it's a fight, right? So this guy steps on my friend's shoe. My friend drank a little bit too much and he wants to fight. And I look at the other guy and I see cauliflower ears. Okay. And I just have this thing. I see cauliflower ears. I'm like, don't let these people touch you. Just look around you. Whatever you can grab, be ready to hit him with that. Don't let him put a hand on you. And I told my friend, hey, we're cool. No, he wants to go with it. I'm like, bad idea. Bad idea. You gotta see these indicators, and that's how you respect different things. I could be as big, strong as I want. I go into an MMA gym or jiu-jitsu and I don't know about that, I respect their craft. I'm like,
Location.
you guys, I'm not letting you touch me. You know, I'm
Yeah.
not letting you touch me. I don't
Yeah.
trust what you're gonna do after that. You know?
Yep. Location. They'll put your fire out. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
me going on a football and not knowing the guy's coming to crush me. Oh, I got it. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. So my word for the week, as I'm thinking about this, I'll stay in preparation. You know, preparation. I do want to get to that level of a flashover, but I also understand you can't cheat the process. There are steps to everything. Dive into the preparation, embrace the preparation.
I'll go with equipment and just make sure I got the right stuff on. Like, do I even have the right? So, if you try to get there, it ain't enough to get there, but do you have the equipment to stay? Like, did you bring the right stuff? Or else you'll find, like you said, we'll find ourselves leaving before we even get to the flash of a point. You already had to tap out. You didn't have on the right gear. You know what I mean? Just got boots on the basketball court. Probably ain't ready. So equipment for me.
I'm gonna go with assessment. And assessment it's crucially important to assess where you are right now and figure out, if you're not on a flashover yet, figure out what one of those steps you need to look at to facilitate a flashover. And if you are in a flashover, do you have the right equipment to last? How do you keep it going so it's not just a flash in a pan and you just die out after? How do you keep this going? Do you check your growth rate? Do you change your location? Okay, because you look at Blockbuster, they did not check their location anymore. Should I be online? Somebody at that table said, nah, that's not going to go anywhere. Oops. So, yeah, assessment.
Perfect, guys. So happy Easter to you all. Welcome back, Al. Nice to see you. Nice to see you. Wishing you guys all the best and looking forward to see you next week again.
You got it, brothers. And thanks for that decent thought, Al. Yes, sir. Peace, loving.
So